When I gave birth to my daughter, I knew my life had changed forever. I didn't expect applause or red carpets. I just wanted warmth, someone to say, "You're doing great," even on the days I clearly wasn't. But in my parents' eyes, I had become nothing more than a tired blur in the background of my sister's spotlight. At the hospital, my mother looked small for once, fragile, a silk robe draped over the side of the bed, but her face was pale and angry. It had always been that way, really. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Growing up, my sister Eden was the one with the cheekbones, the talent agent, and the Instagram perfect life. I was the one who helped her carry garment bags, cheered from behind her runway shots, and edited her portfolio when she couldn't figure out Photoshop. But once I became a mom, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would shift. I had done something brave. I had created life. I was holding a tiny person who needed me every second of the day. I thought that mattered. Apparently, not as much as Eden's walk down a runway in downtown Chicago. It started on a Sunday. I was invited, well, dragged, to my sister's launch party for a local brand that barely paid her. But my parents treated it like the second coming of Coco Chanel. I didn't want to go. My baby, Lila, was teething and fussy. She needed quiet, consistency, not loud venues and artificial smiles. But my mom insisted, "You need to support your sister. It's her big night." "I just had a baby, Mom, 2 months ago." "Eden's worked for this her entire life. You can handle one night." So I came, stupidly, naively, hoping maybe they'd notice I needed support too. I arrived at their house early since the event was downtown and they lived closer. Lila was crying, squirming in her little car seat, already overwhelmed. My dad barely glanced up from the TV. "She'll be fine. Babies cry." They set her down in the guest bedroom, with the door shut. I stood in the hallway, frozen. "Wait, you're just going to leave her alone?" "She'll wear herself out," my mother said, brushing her lipstick on in the mirror. "She's not made of glass, you know." I hovered near the door. Lila's cry wasn't the normal fuss. It was that full-body panic scream. That desperate, "Where is my mom?" kind of cry. My heart cracked. "I'm not comfortable." "For God's sake," my father snapped. "You were a crier too. Didn't ruin you. She'll be fine. Now go freshen up before we're late." They left the room. I stood there alone in the hallway, hand trembling on the doorknob. I opened it. Lila's face was red. Her little fists were balled up in helpless frustration. She was soaked from tears and spit. My baby was scared, and I had let her be. I scooped her up instantly, held her tight, whispered, I'm here, I'm so sorry," again and again. But I knew then it wasn't a one-time thing. This was who they were. And for once I didn't pretend it didn't hurt. I didn't go to the event. I didn't text. I didn't explain. I took Lila and went home. The silence from my parents was louder than a slap. The next morning, they posted a group photo at the party. Eden front and center. My mom's caption read, "So proud of our star tonight. Family is everything." I wasn't in the photo. Neither was my daughter. Family is everything. Unless you're inconvenient. Unless your crying baby messes up the mascara and the mood lighting. For weeks, I stewed in silence. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted acknowledgement, an apology, a single phone call that said, "We're sorry we left your baby to cry alone while we chased a photo op." It never came. Instead, my mother dropped by a few days later. Unannounced, she stepped into my living room like she owned it. "We need you to come to the bank with us," she said casually, flipping through some paperwork. "For what?" I asked, rocking Lila in my arms. "To co-sign some updates on the house title and our medical directive. Just routine stuff." I blinked. "Medical directive?" She smiled. "You know, power of attorney, in case something ever happens to one of us. You're the responsible one, so we thought you'd make the decisions if need be. The bank just needs a signature." Something in my stomach twisted. Responsible? Me? The one they ignored, dismissed, told to handle it when my baby screamed? "Where's Eden in all this?" I asked. My mom laughed like I was silly. "Oh, you know your sister. She's too emotional for this sort of thing. You're the calm one." I wasn't calm. I was boiling beneath the surface. I had been for years. I signed nothing that day. But I took the documents when she wasn't looking, scanned every word, learned every clause. Then I made a quiet call to a lawyer friend I hadn't seen in years. "I need you to walk me through how this works," I said. All of it. Because if they wanted to hand me power of attorney, they had no idea what that meant. I was going to take it, and I wasn't going to give it back. I didn't respond to their next calls. I didn't text back when Eden posted another selfie captioned, "Family support means everything," while holding a bouquet my mother likely bought and a plaque that probably said something like, "Model of the Year." Meanwhile, Lila was cutting her first tooth at 3 a.m., and I was clutching her to my chest on the bathroom floor, humming lullabies between tears and Tylenol doses. They had no idea what that looked like. But they wanted me to make life and death decisions for them? Fine, let's start there. My lawyer friend Jenna was efficient and merciless, in the way only women who've survived emotional wars can be. She walked me through the papers, power of attorney, medical proxy, and their trust structure. "They really left this all in your hands?" she asked, blinking in disbelief. "Apparently, I'm the responsible one," I muttered. Jenna smirked. "You know, if they're mentally sound now, this is just a sleeping sword. But if one of them so much as slips, illness, accident, dementia scare, you're the one holding the blade. And technically, you already can act in certain limited scenarios." My heart pounded. "So, I can make decisions if something happens." "Correct. And you can start asking questions now, quietly, strategically. You want to know what they've been hiding, what they've invested in, and most importantly, how deep Eden's hands are in the pot. Because that was my suspicion all along. They weren't just ignoring me. They were propping Eden up with resources that didn't belong to her. And now, they were looping me in to protect it all legally, under the illusion of responsibility. They had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead. I dug in. I found that my parents had taken out a retirement mortgage on the house, the same house they swore was our family legacy. It was underwritten by Eden's PR agency as collateral. Eden wasn't just the golden child, she was the investment. If she failed, they all fell. And I was the insurance, the quiet daughter, the just-in-case girl, the fallback plan. No more. First, I rewrote the medical directive to reflect very narrow parameters for life support decisions. If they landed in the hospital, I'd be the one choosing how long they stayed plugged in. It was cruel, but not illegal, just surgical. Then I filed a secondary review of the mortgage clause with a financial advisor. If I revoked power on the trust accounts, which, according to the fine print, I could do with written cause, the mortgage would default. The agency wouldn't get paid. Eden wouldn't get her fashion line relaunch. I sat on that power like a queen holding a blade beneath her dress. Then I waited. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Eden called in a panic. "Hey, Mom fell." My chest tightened. "Fell?" She was walking out of that spa place, in heels, of course, and slipped down the front stairs, broke her wrist. She's in the hospital. They're asking for power of attorney documentation. I already knew that call would come. I already had the papers ready in a secure folder on my desk. "I'll be right there," I said calmly. When I gave birth to my daughter, I knew my life had changed forever. I didn't expect applause or red carpets. I just wanted warmth, someone to say, "You're doing great," even on the days I clearly wasn't. But in my parents' eyes, I had become nothing more than a tired blur in the background of my sister's spotlight. At the hospital, my mother looked small for once, fragile. A silk robe draped over the side of the bed, but her face was pale and angry. "Where were you?" she hissed. "They're asking for documents." "I have them," I replied, lifting the envelope. The nurse looked relieved. "Thank you. We just needed the authorization to proceed with the imaging scans." As I signed, I felt a strange chill. For the first time in my life, I was the one making decisions. She glared at me. I don't need scans. I need to get out of here. Eden's fashion preview is in 2 days. She can handle it, I said flatly. She opened her mouth, then stopped. She must have seen something in my face that told her the game had changed, and it had. That night, I filed the letter revoking financial privileges from the trust account Eden had access to, quietly, legally, without announcement. The next morning, Eden's agency couldn't complete the payment to the venue she had booked for her fashion line launch. The event was canceled. Eden called, furious. Did you do this? Did you pull something? I'm just following protocol, I said. As the designated decision maker, I'm protecting the assets until your financial ties are audited. If everything's clean, it'll all go back. She screamed into the phone. I didn't care, because this wasn't revenge out of bitterness. This was protection. For myself, for Lila, for the version of me that had always been ignored, then used when convenient. Later that week, I visited my father. He was sitting on the patio, drinking black coffee like always, reading the paper like nothing had ever cracked in our world. When he saw me, he didn't smile. What? He said. Come to yell at me again? I sat across from him, calm, collected. No, I said. Just came to let you know the trust is being frozen temporarily. There are too many overlapping signatures, and Eden's income isn't stable. It's all precautionary. His jaw clenched. You're punishing your sister. No, I said. I'm protecting myself and my daughter. She's a baby. She doesn't need... She needed a warm room and loving arms when she cried. You gave her a locked door and silence. He looked away. I stood up. This isn't punishment. It's accountability. I'm finally using the power you signed over without reading the fine print. And then I walked out. The weight was finally shifting. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't crying. I wasn't begging to be seen. I was the one at the table now. 3 months passed. My parents stopped calling. Eden posted cryptic stories on Instagram, dark selfies with captions like, "Some people can't stand to see you shine," and "Betrayal doesn't always come from enemies." I didn't respond. I didn't even watch. The silence was louder than their judgment had ever been, and for once, I wasn't trying to fill it. I was learning how to live inside it, to breathe. Lila was thriving. She slept longer, smiled more, crawled across our small living room floor, chasing after a stuffed fox she'd adopted as her best friend. Every time she laughed, something healed in me, something untangled that had been knotted since childhood. One day, while we were walking in the park, I got a call. It was the estate lawyer my parents used. We've received a notice from your parents, he said carefully. They're requesting to reassign their medical and financial proxies. It seems they're uncomfortable with your involvement now. I smiled. Are they allowed to do that? They can file for it, yes. But since your mother's medical condition was recently deemed chronic, she technically can't make independent legal decisions without your approval. That's the part they didn't read. Interesting, I said softly. They had handed me the sword, and now they wanted it back, realizing they couldn't hold it from the blade end. I told him to proceed, but with one condition. I'd like to meet them face to face, I said. One final conversation, just the 3 of us, and I'll bring the documents myself. It happened the following Friday. I met them in their home, the same one where they had shut the door on my crying baby while Eden posed under flashing lights. It looked smaller than I remembered, dimmer. My mother sat in a recliner, her wrist still in a brace. My father stood stiffly by the window. They didn't greet me. They didn't offer tea. I placed the folder on the table between us. I brought what you asked for, I said. My mother reached for it. I pulled it back slightly, just for a moment. But before I give this to you, I continued, you need to understand something. My voice didn't rise. My hands didn't shake. When you asked me to take care of your future, I took it seriously. I thought maybe that was your way of making peace, of seeing me. But when Lila cried in that room and you left her, I realized you never wanted me to lead. You just wanted me to clean up after the mess. They stayed silent. I leaned in. So here's how it's going to go. I'm signing the reassignments. You'll be able to appoint Eden or whoever else you want. But in exchange, I pulled out a second document, a notarized release agreement. You waive any claim to visitation rights, inheritance requests, or legal access to my daughter, her records, or her guardianship. Permanently. My mother's jaw dropped. You're cutting us off from your child? No, I said. You already did that, the moment you shut that door. My father stood up. You can't do this. I already have, legally. She's not your insurance policy. She's not your second chance. She's not another trophy to ignore. They didn't sign immediately, but eventually, they did, because they knew the alternative. I left without a hug, without a backward glance. That night, I made a choice. I filed a name change for Lila, removing my family name from her birth certificate. I gave her a new middle name, too. Nova, Latin for new. And me? I made another change. I bought a small office space using funds I'd saved from consulting work. I opened a parenting support center, not for influencers, not for photo ops, for young moms who had no help, who had been told they were too much or not enough, who had walked through postpartum with cracked hearts and empty hands. I called it the quiet room because every woman deserves a place where no one will shut the door on her pain. The day we launched, Lila toddled into the space on her wobbly feet, pointing at the mural I'd painted with donated brushes and secondhand paint. It showed a woman holding a baby close, her face tired but lit by sunrise. Behind her, a door stood open. Always open. One of the volunteers looked at it and said, "That looks like you." I smiled. It used to be. Now I was something else. Not a second choice. Not the forgotten one, not the fallback girl, but a mother, a builder, a woman who learned how to take the power handed to her and rewrite the story they never thought she'd survive. My parents let my baby cry behind a closed door while they cheered for my sister's 15 seconds of fame. So I gave them exactly what they gave me, silence. And then I took the power they placed in my hands, and I never gave it back. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.